Time to pull up a chair and talk some Dynasty football. I am your host, JJ Wenner, and this is the Rider Dynasty podcast. With me is Jameson Hutchison. Joe Harlow is on assignment. We can't tell you where, but it is his birthday this Sunday. So happy birthday, Joseph. All right, Riders. Tonight we're diving headfirst in the ADP pool, round by round, and calling our shots again. For each round, we're giving you one player we're smashing the draft button on, and one we're passing like gas station sushi. You can call it smash or pass, or if you prefer, it's our ride or dies and our just dies. Last week, Jody Smith helped us dive into the first 6 rounds, but this week, we go deeper. So before we start, don't forget to listen to all of our podcasts and watch all of our shows here at Fantasy and Frames. Head over to fantasyandframes.com for all the latest articles and rankings covering a wide range of topics in the world of fantasy football. Now, joining us tonight is a true triple threat in the fantasy football industry. He's the creator and owner of Fantasy and Frames. He's been grinding out top-tier content since 2017, covering Redraft, IDP, and Dynasty. He's a proud member of the Fantasy Sports Writers Association, a Fantasy Pros Draft Ranking Awards winner, and the host of not one, not two, but 3 podcasts: Shoot the Gap for IDP, Dynasty 365 for My People, and the Fantasy and Frames Sunday Kickoff Show for your weekly lineup needs in season. We're pumped to have him with us. Please welcome Jorge.
Hey, guys. Thank you very much for having me. That's quite the introduction. I really appreciate it. I've been waiting a long time to get on the show, so I'm very excited for you all to have me this week.
Well, we are so excited to see you tonight. And yeah, I guess we should just start, right? We have a lot to get through.
We've got a lot.
So, all right, so let's just fire this up.
We'll kick it off.
All right, so we are in the 7th round. Jameson and Jorge, you both have the same player you're hammering in this round. Jorge, who is it?
For me, it comes down to who is locked into a starting role, who is somebody I know is going to perform well, has a history of performing well, and I'm going with Tony Pollard. Last year, Tennessee Titans running back 8 in rushing attempts with 260. Tajay Spears, the guy who they thought they were going to be splitting an equal workload, only had 84 attempts. Pollard was the RB13 in yards per game, RB9 in yards after contact per attempt, RB21 and 12.7 fantasy points. So you're telling me I can get my RB2 in the 7th round who has tremendous upside, who is not going to be splitting that backfield with anybody in a serious way? It just makes too much sense here to get Tony Pollard versus somebody like a Swift. We don't know what's happening in Chicago. We think that the offensive line is going to help him out, but we don't know. Caleb Johnson, we don't. What's Pittsburgh doing? Who knows what Pittsburgh is doing? Aaron Jones, they bring over Jordan Mason. And when you kind of break down looking at Jordan Mason's performances at San Francisco versus Aaron Jones, they're kind of similar. So do they eat into each other's workload? That's a concern there. So for me, it's Tony Pollard, lock, stock, and barrel.
Jameson, anything you want to add?
I agree with Jorge here. He was RB21 last year, even behind the offensive line and the mess that was Will Levis that cratered at every chance that he could. The offensive line gets improved. They have an upgraded quarterback, which I'll talk about here in a little bit with Cam Ward. So I know Tajay Spears, especially towards the end of the year, end up looking a lot better. But I mean, Tony Pollard, another year over the tightrope surgery on his ankle. And even though the offensive line and the offense for the Titans sucked last year, there was a couple moments that Tony Pollard of old kind of showed up that we saw in Dallas behind the good offensive line. And that's something I'm excited for. I'm actually excited for this offense. I know on paper it probably doesn't look sexy, but I do think last year, Tony Pollard finishing running back 21 overall with all that he had to deal with Tajay Spears, I think especially like RB2, RB3, I think he ends up fitting really well for a lot of builds. And just in the 7th round, there's some landmines in this list here that I just would rather avoid. So I think Tony Pollard is a safe pick here, and he's also got some upside with him too.
All right. Well, despite what Jorge said and Jameson hinting at landmines, I'm going with DeAndre Swift. Now, he finished as RB19 last year on a terrible Chicago team with an offensive line that was offensive. Ben Johnson is now the OC. The O-line is improved, and they only added a 7th-round pick. So I know people are happy about Kyle Managai, but 7th round, like I'm not too worried about that right now. And who's the other? Roshan Johnson. I'm not worried. So I'm not a big fan of DeAndre Swift, but he's going to be fed the ball, and volume is king. And he's going as what? The RB26? I'll take that. Who are we avoiding? Actually, Jorge, you and I have the same player. So who are you avoiding?
So if you were to blind yourself by not knowing the names, and you were just told 2 receivers on this team, one had 75 targets, one had 72 targets, one in PPR scoring had 11.6 points per game average last year, one had 10.2. You couldn't tell me which one was Jaden Reed and which one was Romeo Doubs. And that is a concern here because no wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers has really separated themselves as far as being the alpha wide receiver here. So in this instance, I'm fading Jaden Reed or passing on Jaden Reed in the 7th round. When, going back to your points about DeAndre Swift, that makes total sense. And Aaron Jones and Josh Downs, there are a lot of other options that I think are a lot more stable that have a clear path to establish themselves as an alpha wide receiver. But not Jaden Reed.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Looking right at 77 and 78, Matthew Golden followed by Jaden Reed. You have a 50-50 shot of getting this one completely wrong.
Right. Correct.
So I put them both down. And I'm not saying, in case Mel pops in, I'm not saying I don't like Green Bay. I just think that they are very socialist. They share equally among all their targets. So I don't want a bunch of guys with 80 targets. I want somebody who has like 110 target upside in the 7th round. 100%. So for me, I'm staying away. JMO, who do you got?
Well, just to add on the Jaden Reed dirt throwing here, he finished top 35 wide receiver once past week 11. So it's brutal out there. But my landmine here, which I don't understand, is Caleb Johnson. He's a good prospect coming out of Iowa, but he's a rookie who is one drop pass or missed block away from getting sent to the depths of hell that we've never seen before because Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. We've seen how Aaron Rodgers behaves against rookies. He does not like them. He also has Jalen Warren in the background. I don't think the Pittsburgh offense is going to be very fantasy friendly this year. Arthur Smith, I know he likes to run the ball, but they have Jalen Warren there. I really just don't understand this. I know rookies are the rave right now. I know everybody's excited, but the situation, it's not like Aaron Rodgers is going to be dumping it off to him a whole lot. I just don't really understand this here. Above DeAndre Swift, who's going to be RB1, even whether you like it or not. Above Isaiah Pacheco, above Tony Pollard. That ranking doesn't make any sense to me at all. So way too expensive for my liking, and even if the price dropped, there's some other situations I'd rather take than Caleb Johnson here as running back 25. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, well, let's go to the 8th round then. I'm going to lead off and call it rose-colored glasses. But for me, a good example of why you don't give up on people is Baker Mayfield. What if last year is who Baker is? People have kind of discounted him. He got hurt, and he's slowly been building back until he was what he was last year. Now, is he going to throw for 40 touchdowns again? No. But even if that comes down to like 32, which I think is a strong possibility in that offense, he's still going to be up in the top 10. So I just think Baker Mayfield has taken that next step. I mean, Cohen was good, and I know people are talking about him leaving, but Cohen, that was his only year there. So I just want to see what Baker can do again this year. So I'm going to keep drafting Baker Mayfield in this round. Who do you have, JMO?
I've got for my smash here, I've got Michael Pittman. Last year, over 800 yards, and that was with a broken back carrying a sorry ass Colts offense with Anthony Richardson. Once they signed Daniel Jones, I think he's going to start. I know that news came out today that Anthony Richardson's shoulder is okay, but it was way too bad, and it just seemed, especially towards the end of the year, the upper management and the coaches were kind of tired of doing the Anthony Richardson show. So I know a lot of people love Josh Downs right now. He's more of the sexy click at wide receiver here, but I mean, Michael Pittman has had 2,000-yard seasons in the last 4 years. He's never had lower than 800 yards. And if the offense, especially passing, just gets a little better with Daniel Jones, just more of a, kind of raise the water a little bit, I think Michael Pittman can get there, especially in this range. Jordan Mason, he's basically the running back 2 right now. Jaden Higgins is a rookie wide receiver 2. Mecca Buka is wide receiver 3. And I mean, Michael Pittman, I still think can lead this Colts offense in targets and yards and touchdowns. I mean, I still think that's possible. And so I'm going to go with Michael Pittman here. It's more of a high floor play than a high ceiling, but I mean, for wide receiver 3 or 4, I think Michael Pittman's definitely suitable as a wide receiver 1 in this range.
Now, Jorge, you also took Michael Pittman. Do you want to add anything to JMO?
Sure. I mean, we go back to 2021 in terms of targets, 129 targets. In 2022, by the way, he finished in PPR as the wide receiver 15. In 2022, 141 targets. In 2023, 156 targets, both in wide receiver 1 range. And let's not forget, he's not a huge touchdown guy, believe it or not. He gets a lot of his fantasy points from those receptions because of the high target volume. So you're telling me because the guy had a broken freaking back, he still got 111 targets? Like, it took a broken back for Josh Downs to come sniffing close to what Michael Pittman did last year. Let's pump the brakes on all the Michael Pittman hate and slander. Like, this guy clearly has shown a track record of getting better and better each and every year he's been in the league. Dude has a broken back. And let's not forget, he hasn't been playing with world beaters at quarterback either. So it's not like there is that concern there as far as maybe the quarterback's going to be his downfall. If anything, a bad quarterback will lock into the only person that they trust, which I think is going to be Michael Pittman for this offense.
I definitely like that take. Now, JMO, who is your pass?
In this round, it's Brian Robinson for me. It just seems like a lower end running back option here. He only had 3 top 12 finishes last year, and he ends up being a volume back. He only had 3 games last year with 75 plus yards. So he's got Austin Eckler there, who ends up being the receiving threat just because Brian Robinson doesn't do a whole lot of that. He had 8 touchdowns last year, and as far as fantasy goes, it still didn't feel like it moved the needle a whole lot. And then the last 3 games, it was 2.6 points, 8.9, and 2.6 against Philly, which I know has good run defense, but Atlanta and Dallas towards the end of the year were reeling too. So just Brian Robinson kind of seems like a pick if you waited in a draft for running back and needed a guy who has volume. Brian Robinson would be there. He's fine. I don't see him really getting into the upper echelon, and he doesn't have much of the receiving threat with Austin Eckler. It's not necessarily his game. He's more of a volume back, and I mean, technically he can get you there, but he's just not somebody I'm excited to click here. So I'm going to pass here with Brian Robinson.
He is who we thought he is.
Yep.
So despite Sean's love or having a half full cup, Jorge, who you and I shared the player we're passing on in this round?
Yeah, so it is Cooper Kupp who I am going to be passing on because who's the slot wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks? Because last time I checked, Jackson Smith and Jigma was a darn good one and definitely had a coming out party, so to speak, last year, and is due now with no DK Metcalf to have even bigger breakout in 2025. And then here they go and they get Cooper Kupp, who for the Los Angeles Rams look dominant when he's on the field. And that's the key phrase right there, when he's on the field. I don't think since his Super Bowl year where he's won Offensive Player of the Year has he played a full season. And I want to say he's been averaging 3 to 4 games missed per year since then. And again, it comes down to role. if they ask him to play outside, that's not his thing. He's not a burner. He's not, he's a possession receiver, or he's a guy who can do quick shifting moves out of the slot. They already got a guy for that. They already got JSN for that. So the fact is there's too much redundancy in that receiving core for me to go towards Cooper Kupp. I think it's JSN's role in that offense, and Cooper Kupp, man, I'm not feeling it, especially, inside the double-digit rounds in the 8th. Just no thanks.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Over the past 3 seasons, he's missed 6+ games each year.
Yeah.
He had 2 good seasons. I know they were really good seasons, but everybody treats Kupp like he's this perennial all-star. He had 2 good seasons, and they were a little bit ago. So, yeah. And if there's one thing I'm willing to do, I'm willing to be wrong on oft-injured players. So I had 2 picks. I had him and Ayuk this round. Like, I'm not drafting Brendan Ayuk as wide receiver 48 until I know he's going to be healthy enough to come back after 4 games. Like, I'll wait and see. And I'd much rather have Buka this round. I'd rather have Higgins this round. I'd definitely rather have Pittman and Mooney. So, yeah, I'm staying away from both of those guys.
It's funny. Going back to the 49ers wide receiver situation with Ayuk, I am a very big Juwan Jennings fan, and just loved it, like his performances. His first read target share was number 1 on the team last year. Like Purdy really locked in, and I'm thinking to myself, this is it. What could possibly go wrong with Juwan Jennings this year? And then 2 days ago, it's like, give me more money or I want to be traded. I'm like, no. Take that back. Take that back right now.
Yeah, he sort of is like the guy you want to. Everybody wants to love players like that, right? Like the scrappy veteran who blocks and then gets an opportunity. I mean, I'm not worried about him. He's not asking for top wide receiver money.
Right.
He just wants to, as they said in The Godfather 2, wet his beak a little bit.
Exactly.
All right. Let's go to the 9th round. JMO, why don't you go first with the player you're smashing in this round?
For me in this round, it's Bo Nix. He ends up in this pocket of quarterbacks with Justin Fields, Brock Purdy. Kyler was at the end of round 8, and he's probably my favorite click in this realm here. He was quarterback 9 last year. Got off to a little bit of a rocky start as a rookie, but I mean, the second half of the year, he really started to dial in. Major upgrades in the offense with RJ Harvey. They bring in Evan Ingram and Pat Bryant, the rookie. Have one of the best offensive lines in the league. I just think it really sets up well. In the AFC West, he's going up against Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. Geno Smith was really good last year. He goes to the Raiders, and I feel like they can do some stuff too. The only worry here is honestly just how good this defense is going to be for Denver, if that kind of trickles into some of the offensive production. But he does a lot of, obviously he's known for his checkdowns, but he did a lot of work on his legs too. So I think for him, he is the perfect high floor player, but he's also got the ceiling as well. Like Justin Fields, he can bottom out, but he can also drop 40 any day of the week with his rushing upside. I think Bo Nix's ceiling is just a little bit less, but I mean, I just think the floor's there. You're very comfortable with him as your quarterback 1. He's going to bring production every week, kind of like Brock Purdy. He gets you like 15 to 20, just waking up out of bed and then going from there if they could kind of go off here. So I really like Bo Nix. I think he has his realm of possibility is top 5 quarterback this year, just with how I think the improvements for Denver, the way it sets up in his year 2. I think a lot of people hated him as a rookie coming in. Just wasn't sexy. It wasn't very compared to some of the other guys, but I think Bo Nix has it. Sean Payton, one of the best in the business. Upgrades across the offensive line. I think it sets up really nice for him in this pocket here in the 9th round.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Nix in this round. I'm actually going with the quarterback being taken right after him. Shocking. Maybe it's my Homer side showing, but I'm going with Justin Fields. I mean, he was RB 19 in points per game last year No, I'm lying. He averaged 19 points per game last year. That's not bad. So now he has a better O-line. I think his weapons are better this year. I think Brees is better than Najee. I think Wilson is better than Pickens. So I think Yeah, his ADP is creeping up. I think everything is looking good for Fields. I think they want to give him a shot. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is going to be any type of threat for him getting benched. So I'm kind of loving Justin Fields at pick 100. Go ahead.
I was going to say he sets up nice with his rushing floor as well. I think it's going really underrated how good the offensive line is going to be for the Jets. They just paid Garrett Wilson, and I'd rather
Sauce.
and Sauce Gardner. So I think it sets up nicely. He's a great value here in this round too. People need to lay off drafting him. I know it's these more of the casuals are coming in, and some of these ADPs are going to change a little bit. Let's lay off some of these quarterbacks so we can get them a little later. Late round quarterback used to be the way to go. Let's keep it that way.
Sorry to interject, but like going back to Justin Fields, and you mentioned Breece Hall a few minutes ago. Like, I want to say Justin Fields had the highest check down percentage of any quarterback last year. So again, the receiving upside for Breece Hall is going to go very high and increase his value. So again, fantasy managers who are just starting to tune in, no, it's not. I lied. It's not going to happen. Keep waiting for Breece Hall to fall.
Yeah, I love Breece this year. I believe. Now, Jorge, you and I have picked the same player, but on two sides. So I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah. So speaking of, I believe that Travis Kelce still has some juice left in the tank here for this Chiefs offense. Locked into a starting role here. We could say all he wants. He's getting older. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. He was like the tight end 6 last year. So it's not like he was like falling outside the top 12. It's not like he was, he had his moments. Of course, he's not as explosive as he had been in previous seasons, but I still think this offense runs through the tight end position, especially with I'm not sold on Hollywood Brown, or the corpse of Hollywood Brown, as I like to say sometimes. Actually, I never say that. That's the first time I actually did say that. So apologies if I offended you, Hollywood Brown, which I probably did by calling you a corpse. But Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. We just heard the Rashee Rice news today. I don't think there's been an announcement yet on the suspension. That's probably coming. So again, it's one of those things like, well, what's Patrick Mahomes going to do? Who's this guy? Oh, throw to Travis Kelce. And especially for best ball, for redraft, and let's talk about redraft just for a second here. I think Travis Kelce, again, being in the tight end 6 last year, and given the question marks in this receiving core, and given the question marks in this running game, is Pacheco going to be the guy again? They brought in a few players. So I don't know. There's a lot of question marks there. The question mark that is not there in Kansas City is who's the go-to wide receiver, and that's still Travis Kelce. Or receiver, I should say.
Counterpoint. So now I did write these notes prior to the Rashee Rice news, but in the 3 games with Rice, Kelce averaged 4 targets a game. He wasn't being used a lot. I think the Chiefs have an idea of what Travis Kelce can do, and that is show up in the playoffs and use him then. So for me, I don't know. Like, Rice might miss 4 games. Like everybody, that's sort of the assumption, anywhere from 2 to 4. But I mean, with Rice, he didn't get targeted. After Rice got injured, he got 9 targets a game. That's a massive jump. I think the plan is to keep him healthy for the playoffs, not fantasy playoffs, but the actual playoffs. And they're going to use Hollywood, Rice, Worthy, and Royals, who they added in the draft this year, to try to keep Travis fresh for when they really need him. So that's my only concern, Jorge, is that. But now with Rice getting suspended, who the hell knows?
Right. We're assuming the 4-game stretch, like probation for 5 years and 30 days in jail. Like, I feel like 4 games may not be, I think that's the minimum here for Rashee Rice. But again, and it's one of those things where, like, I wish Xavier Worthy was an option, but the chemistry just wasn't there consistently week in and week out for Patrick Mahomes. And Sean brings up Noah Gray. Noah Gray got some love last year, believe it or not, with the Kansas City offense here. But as he says in the chat here, Sean, Hollywood Brown came back, hurt Noah Gray more than anyone. They're like, you're not wrong. Travis Kelce does like to show up in the playoffs, absolutely. But if I'm looking at other people here outside of the quarterbacks, which you both selected, Tyrone Tracy, I don't know, Trey Harris after the news of Mike Williams retiring and then him just getting close to signing a deal, that maybe changes things. And that was I made this pick before that being the case. Mark Andrews, you got Isaiah Likely there. A lot of other options here. Like I said, the guy, I think he has one more season in him left, and you can't pass up that elite upside. If his worst season in the past 5 years was tight end 6, I think that's going to correct itself to some degree.
Now, so that was my avoid. Jorge, who is your avoid? Because you and JMO shared one.
So for me, it is Keon Coleman. The second-year wide receiver now, who is great at picking out winter coats in July, because he learned back during his rookie press conference in Buffalo that they were like, "Oh, you like this jacket?" He's like, "Yeah, I got this winter jacket at Macy's, but you got to go in the summertime because that's when they get the best deals on winter coats. You can't go when it's already cold because they're going to jack up the price." I remember that because that's something that doesn't really, fade away from a press conference. If we think about that in history. But Keon Coleman, he's not the guy. The guy in Buffalo is Khalil Shakir. You look at Josh Allen's average depth of target when he's passing the ball. It's right around 9.6. Khalil Shakir's yards per target, 8.2. You look at the targets last year, 100 targets to Khalil Shakir, a 76% catch rating, slot wide receiver out the middle. That has always been Josh Allen's bread and butter, trying to hit that slot wide receiver, whether it's Cole Beasley, now Khalil Shakir. There's no Amari Cooper there anymore. And Keon Coleman, theoretically, addition by subtraction, vacated targets. It should go his way, right? But it's not going to. I'm just telling you right now, it's not going to. Khalil Shakir is the guy for Josh Allen who he's going to lock into. And so that's why I'm out on Keon Coleman.
JMO, anything you want to add?
Just 2 top 20 finishes last year. Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore come to town. Just the never-ending Bills wide receiver roulette. He's just another spoke on this wheel that I just don't really want any part of. And, he only had 5 games of 50-plus yards. He's a wide receiver who's been, for whatever reason, playing out of his natural position. Did it all year last year. Doesn't seem like anything's going to change. Billy Bean or Brandon Bean, I think, the GM, said nothing was going to change as far as his position goes. So I just ADP does not make a lot of sense to me. Rashid Shaheed, I know he's coming off injury. I'd rather have him with one leg than Keon Coleman, respectfully. Trey Harris, the rookie, I'd rather take a shot on that. Brock Purdy. I just even if you wanted Keon Coleman, he's going to be a spike week guy the way that he plays, and you're never going to know which week to play him anyways. So why bother? I don't. Some of this stuff just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's above my pay grade to figure out these rankings. So Keon Coleman, I cannot do in the 9th round.
All right, so that finishes up round 9. Let's jump to round 10. And Jorge, Who are you going with in round 10?
This pains me as a Commanders fan, but you know what? As a fantasy manager, I don't care about real football team loyalty. I want to win. And I'm talking about Rain Dakota Prescott himself in round 10. Only 2 times since 2019 has he averaged less than 20 points per game. The running game in Dallas appears very lackluster, and I feel like that is the nicest way of saying that as possibly one could. They just added the weapon in George Pickens. This is, in all intents and purposes, going to be a pass-heavy offense, I think, here with Schottenheimer calling the shots. Until somebody is established in that running game, they're going to throw the ball. And that's exactly why you go out and make a trade for George Pickens, because you realize where you're deficient at. Can you fix it? No. Where can we get better at? Passing game? Boom. Let's do that. That's an easier fix. Let's make this happen. Dak Prescott definitely has QB1. We have him. Fantasy Pros has him as QB13. I can see him definitely cracking into the top 10, potentially top 8 in fantasy points scoring. All
right. JMO, who do you have?
Before I do, I just want to say I love Dak Prescott this year as well. I think he's great value. So, another year, it's every other year with Dak. We talked about this last couple weeks here. So, my smash, another quarterback, is Drake May. He provided a safe floor last year with his rushing ability, and that was on 0 designed runs. The offense last year Alex Van Pelt, Gerard Mayo were incompetent, to say the least. They bring in Mike Vrabel, the head coach, and Josh McDaniels, who sucks as a head coach, but has always been really good as an offensive coordinator, and he's done it with plenty of different guys. It's been Tom Brady. He got Cam Newton. He got stuff out of him. So he gets Drake May here. They get some new weapons, Kyle Williams, Travion Henderson in the draft, and they bring over Stephon Diggs, who sounds like right now he's going to play week 1. So I played Drake May last year over Kyler Murray. That's how bad it got. I just want to take a minute to dump on Kyler as I do every week. But
Nice.
Drake May, I think he's got a lot of upside. Seems like everybody's starting to follow the train. They're starting to jump on. I'm a little worried that we're getting a little too excited. I don't want his ADP to push up. I think he's fine where he is. But Drake May, he had the rushing upside last year. I think it'd get even better with some design runs and stuff like that. And I just think the offense will be a whole lot better with some, actual brains on the team, unlike last year. So I like Drake May a lot. And another thing, he plays at the same division as Josh Allen and Tua. If both of those offenses are good, you can get some shootout potential there. So I like him where he's at right now. I know he's starting to become one of these fantasy football darlings, it seems, in my fantasy bubble. So if it gets a little too exciting, I'll hop off ship. But right now, in round 10, I think it's great value.
Now, I also like Prescott and May. I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, you talk about being in a bad situation last year. The offensive line couldn't block. I did it. We had Jim Coventry on the Diehards podcast, and everything, the defense knew that all they had to do was do a twist or a stunt, and they were going to get a free pass to go hit him. So all the DBs were playing up on the receivers. The only option he really had was to throw a screen pass to DJ Moore. So DJ Moore got hammered with screen passes last year. So everybody's like, DJ Moore, that's all he did. No, he's going to be fine this year. Ben Johnson is in town. He improved the offensive line. I want to give the rookie a chance. See what he can do when he has a second to breathe, when he can watch film and somebody will talk to him about what he's watching, right? Not like when we watch a movie and we're on our phones and like doing an underdog draft at the same time. Like, you have to be taught things. And I think Ben Johnson will take the time. They added weapons with Loveland and Burden. I'm not huge on either of those two this year, but it's just another weapon for him, someplace else to go with the ball. And if there's one thing he has now, it's weapons galore. So if it doesn't happen this year, then I'm kind of out on him. Who are you out on, Jorge, at this range?
Man, Drew Scott over on the Fourth and Frames podcast here at Fantasy and Frames is a huge fan of this receiver in real life because, as to quote him, he is a dog on the field, but for fantasy, he is just not. I'm talking about Rashad Bateman for the Baltimore Ravens. We go back to 2022. I believe he had a knee injury that only allowed him to play 6 games. You go back to 23, played 16, got a whopping 367 yards receiving. Last year in 2024, he had his highest yardage output, which was 756 yards. He had 9 touchdowns. And so people are going to say, well, he had 9 touchdowns. So therefore, he's turning the corner. He's going to be a guy here in this offense. Okay, well, before then, since 2021, he's only had 3. So what's the anomaly? The 3 touchdowns or the 9? I'm going to lean towards the 9, and that kind of comes back down to earth. We look at the target volume here for Baltimore. Zay Flowers last year led the team in targets with 116. Rashad Bateman 72. There's only so much to go around. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins, and say what you will, he is a receiving target. He is a little bit older, a lot older now. But the fact that they had to bring in a DeAndre Hopkins kind of tells you what they think about as far as Rashad Bateman being a viable receiving option in this passing attack for Baltimore.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you said there. I am not a Bateman fan. JMO, who are you avoiding in this round?
For me, it's Javonte Williams. Just last year, behind the offensive line of Denver, one of the best in football. He was just dog shit. I don't really know which way to put it. I mean, 513 yards on the ground. He played every game last year, 52 receptions and 356 yards. I mean, he played 17 games and didn't get 1,000 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. And it's like they didn't have any other competition. It was Jaleel McLaughlin and some other guys. It was brutal out there. He goes to Dallas, who I think, Jorge talks about. I think they're just going to throw the ball. They also brought in Miles Sanders, who I think also stinks. And then they drafted Jaden Blue, who another guy I'll talk about here in a little bit. But even if he got 90% of the volume and had 8 touchdowns, I still don't see it with him. And I think this is a landmine pick, and it's just for somebody trying to bank on volume. And that's not usually how I want to play football in these kind of ranges, because he's a volume back doesn't mean he's a good one. Doesn't have any upside. And talk about last year. I mean, he had 9 games last year in single digits. So that's with all the workload that he had. Like I said, he played every game. It's not like he was injured, another year removed from the ACL. So it just seems like that injury really hurt him from him coming into the league, what we expected and what happened afterwards. And Ramondre's 2 picks above. I'd rather have him. Charbonnet, take the upside in case something happens. Kenneth Walker. I cannot do Javonte Williams. I do not get it.
I can't disagree with you about Javonte. When he came out the same year as Michael Carter, I said my favorite North Carolina back was Michael Carter, who I still think is good and hasn't gotten a fair shake in the NFL. But man, if that knee could just be healthy, but I think it's done for him. So I have to agree. For me, I'm avoiding Luther Burden. Now, I generally don't draft a lot of rookies in redraft. It's not my game. I think you'll have 1 or 2, maybe 4 rookies who make a major difference every year. And I don't think Burden's going to be that guy. The team invested heavily in an offensive line. They added a tight end. They're signaling what they want to do. They want to run the ball this year. I think they're going to do a lot more 12 personnel, which keeps Burden off the field. So if his route participation is around 50%, what are we expecting from him? You're never going to know the game where he's going to go off. He's going to be the gadget guy, in my opinion. So until I see him showing a consistent role, beating out DJ Moore, beating out Rome Odunze, I'm going to stay away from Luther Burden, which Sean said he also is avoiding in that round. So I kind of feel vindicated. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy.
Sean knows all. So, there we go.
Listen, in Sean, I trust. All right. Before we go to the 11th round, if you listen to pods on Apple or Spotify, look up Rider Dynasty, and you're going to find a link. I just created it today for both the Rod Pod and Diehards with me and Doug Orth. You can find all of our episodes there. So if you don't want to see these beautiful faces, you can just listen to us over on Spotify, and you do not have to look at Jameson anymore. Although the beard is coming back.
That's discrimination, but I will let it slide.
What am I discriminating against?
I ain't that bad looking.
No, you're a handsome dude. I told you that. A little too handsome. But that's just because we share a room. So I say lots of things to you at the
That's
expo.
true.
It is true. So before we get into any trouble, let's go to the 11th round. Jorge, who is your smash player in this round?
So I really want to preface this with, I really hope Joe Flacco is the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns for a majority of the season. Will that be the case? I don't know. But if he is, I am smashing David Njoku here. Weeks 14 through 17, the last time Joe Flacco was the starting quarterback. David Njoku, weeks 14, 27 fantasy points, then 26 fantasy points, 16, 17.4. Like Njoku found NFL football Jesus when Joe Flacco took the field. And that is a quote that we should probably have snipped and put into one of these reels that we put on TikTok or on YouTube, because I feel like that was pretty epic right there, if I don't say so myself. So again, he needs that guy who's going to uncork the ball. He needs a guy who's going to have that chemistry with him. And Joe Flacco had that with David Njoku. If it's Dylan Gabriel, if it's Kenny Pickett, if it's Shedeur Sanders, but if it's Joe Flacco, I'm going to be very happy getting a David Njoku in the 11th round.
All right. I like that. Now, JMO, you also want to smash David Njoku.
I do, especially if you miss out on the top tight ends with George Kittle, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. He has been a top 10 tight end in this league, no matter who is thrown on the ball. I mean, it does not matter. He does not discriminate. He does not care. He always gets there. He was tight end 11 last year, and he missed 6 games, which I think is very telling, especially in this 11th round here. I mean, there's such a gap between the Kittle, and then it goes all the way down here to, Kelsey, Andrews, and then Njoku comes along after that. So he only played 10 or 11 games last year, and 6 of those he had 10-plus points, which I think says a lot in the tight end landscape because, we're a lot of the times if you don't get one of the top guys, you end up, digging at the bottom of the barrel just for a touchdown, a scrap of anything. And this is a guy that I don't really care who's quarterback. I just feel like he's always going to get his no matter what. I know Jerry Jeudy kind of came on last year. He did it 1 year out of like the 5 he's been in the league. I really don't see that replicating. I know a lot of people like Cedric Tillman. He's been a pretty good X receiver coming off concussions, but I really like David Njoku. He ends up being the safety blank. He's safe. He's the comfort blanket for whoever quarterback. I think we'll see a little bit of Kenny Pickett. I think we'll see a little bit of Dylan Gabriel as well. Not too sure on Shedeur. But at the same time, I don't care. I think that he ends up being viable. I know they drafted Harold Fannin. I don't think that he's going to really do much as far as eating into Njoku's workload here. So if I can get the ceiling of David Njoku at tight end at round 11, I'm going to smash that every day of the week. Twice on Sunday.
Twice on Sunday. I like that. Even though that was a little bit of Fannin slander, and I don't stand for that, JMO.
Nothing personal, just business.
I know. But
Just
I
business.
feel like you're actually coming after me because I made a joke about you shaving your beard.
I'm not. That's the last thing on my mind until you just said it. But continue
all right.
on.
My smash pick for this round is Mr. J.K. Dobbins. I know he disappointed us for a long stretch of his career, constantly injured. But I think last year we saw a little bit of what people drafted J.K. Dobbins to be. Now he goes to Denver. He has a top 5 offensive line in front of him. He's healthy again, and he's not a rookie. And I know everybody's getting Harvey much earlier than this. Just wait a little bit and take Dobbins in the 11th round instead of Harvey. They're gonna run the ball a ton, I think. That's my opinion only, but I think they're gonna run the ball. And that's where I think Dobbins is going to shine this year. I think he's going to get a bigger workload. I'm not worried about McLaughlin. I'm not worried about Tyler Beatty. Right? I'm not worried about those guys at all. Audric Estime, does he scare anybody except trying to spell Audric? So yeah, I'm going with J.K. Dobbins as my smash in this round. Now, sorry about that. Put him through. Hey, Sean, that's not nice. Don't put me through a table, JMO.
3 weeks. I will 3D him in Canton, Ohio. You don't worry about that. I'll get that on video, Sean.
Wait, wasn't that the Dudley Boys?
That was the Dudley Boys.
Look at that. I knew a wrestling
Very
thing.
nice. Very nice.
Are you proud of me?
I'm very proud. I'm going to give you a hug, and then I'm going to powerbomb you through the table immediately afterwards. So,
may I get the table? Can you say, Jorge, get the tables?
yes, we can do that.
Awesome.
I can push you. We can do it.
Yes.
Going through the DoubleTree bar in front of. So,
listen, I've almost gone through there by myself a few days, but it might have been the 30 high noons that I bought in one sitting.
Nice.
All right. Who is Jorge's pass for this round?
For me, it's Kyle Williams. I get it from a dynasty standpoint. All the hype we've been hearing about him and the competition with Matt Collins should, maybe in a year or so, that will not be a competition. And Kyle Williams will take this right wide receiver spot and run with it. Not this year. Not this year. I'd rather have somebody like a J.K. Dobbins, like you were talking about. I would rather have. To be honest with you, I would rather have Marvin Mims. I think there was a connection between him and Bo Nix towards the end of last season. I don't think that is a fluke there. Even Jordan Love, who I think is one of the, I think Jordan Love had some of the most, I think it was the top 5 in quarterbacks with deep throws last year. So the guy can sling it in the 11th round. Again, going back to David Njoku, we got, who was it here? Brandon in the chat. Hey, what's up, Brandon? Saying Christian Kirk is a sleeper here. A lot of other people with upside, not, a rookie. And let's not forget the New England Patriots here. Like, let's talk about this. They got, Stephon Diggs, who, yes, I understand he's 31 years old. He is coming off of an ACL, but he's still serviceable, right? So they're going to throw the ball to him. They paid him all this money. They're going to throw the ball to him this way. They have Hunter Henry, who is one of the premier targets for the Patriots last year. They have Travion Henderson, who can work out as a running back as well as a receiving back. So it makes you wonder, like, how prolific is this? Are you anticipating this Patriots offense to be where they can handle multiple receiving threats? I don't think they're there yet. They're getting there. They're starting to build that offensive line around Drake May, but I don't think they're there yet, especially not with Kyle Williams being that rookie wide receiver.
Can't disagree with that. Who do you have, JMO?
I've got Bashal Tutin for the Jaguars, the rookie running back.
Fantastic choice.
It just, the reports out of training camp have not been great. He's known to have a fumbling issue. He's got some pass protection issues as well. Just one of these guys that the fantasy community, he's explosive. He's exciting. We're going to strap the rocket to him. And, just seems like this could turn into like the Kamani Vidal of last year, where everybody got really excited. He had an opportunity to kind of work himself in. But I mean, Tank Bigsby, he's kind of a one-trick pony, but he did the trick pretty well last year for Jacksonville, whether you like it or not. And then Travis Etienne's there. He's in a contract year. For whatever reason, when you throw money in front of somebody, they seem to play a little bit better than they did the year before. He's an RB3 who I understand could pass up one of them. You're getting in the 11th round. And I think even if he works his way through, I don't think he's going to be the RB1. I think he's going to be sharing time. He might have a couple great weeks, but as far as kind of breaking through compared to like Bucky Irving, I just don't really see it with him, because like I said, he's got fumbling issues, pass protection issues, so he's not going to be on the field for a lot of it. He can't pass protect to begin with, and round 11 is just way too steep. I mean, Tajay Spears is sitting here. That's a great click especially how he ended the year last year. Some more quarterbacks, Tucker Kraft. I don't know. I just can't do him personally. I think the rookie fever just got a little too exciting.
All right. I'm going to go with a veteran for my pick. I'm going with Jonnu Smith. I know his ADP is a little off. A lot of this is based before he was traded. There's a decent amount of target competition for him. I mean, Freiermuth is in the same offense. DK Metcalf, I don't think they're going to be a high volume. When Rodgers runs an offense, and this I know because I watched him last year, he will run the slowest ass offense you've ever seen. Every play clock will go down to 1 or 2 seconds before he snaps the ball. So they're not running a high volume of plays. The defense is great, so they're not going to be probably passing as much as they should. I think they are going to run the F out of that ball in Pittsburgh. So for Jonnu to get the love that he needs, you're going to count on Arthur Smith. Can anybody count on Arthur Smith for anything in fantasy? If you are relying on him to get your players the ball, prepare to be disappointed. I mean, Jonnu Smith is more likely to be given an end around on the goal line than he is to be targeted in a fade. Like, that's how Arthur Smith likes his offense. So I'm staying away from him. And if there's one last reason, it's because of Aaron Rodgers. I don't want anything to do with the Steelers' offensive players.
Can I make a counterpoint there?
Please do.
We are assuming that Mike Tomlin has said to Aaron Rodgers, unlike other places you've played quarterback, you're not going to be calling the shots as far as how we run our offense. You're going to run the offense as it is here in Pittsburgh, whether you like it or not. Do we think that's the case, or do we think it's to the point now where, they're trading away George Pickens, they're, signing these people to $100 million deals that they normally don't do? They bring in, somebody who's been off the field, somewhat unstable in Aaron Rodgers. Like there's a lot of moving parts going on in Pittsburgh right now. And it makes me wonder, is Mike Tomlin getting a little bit nervous to the point where, you know what, man, I need to change something because I can't keep being an average coach, for 6 years in a row now. Plus, do they give Aaron Rodgers more control and more reins of this offense? And if they do that, does he go and say, hey, Jonnu Smith is pretty good, let me just funnel the ball more his way? So I'm curious to hear what you have to say, JJ. Do you think it's, Arthur Smith is firmly going to be in control, or is there a chance that Aaron Rodgers could be dictating how this offense runs?
Aaron Rodgers will definitely.
Sean.
Aaron Rodgers will definitely be calling his own plays. He will be audibling at the line. He will be checking out of runs into passes. He's going to hyperfixate on one or two players in the passing game. But it doesn't change the fact that he's going to run a slow offense, because that's what Aaron Rodgers did last year. There's a lot of stuff that's going to start coming out from the Jets about how he was so demoralizing to that team last year, because no matter what they game planned, and I'm not saying Nathaniel Hackett could game plan his way out of a wet paper bag, but no matter what they discussed, Rodgers did what Rodgers wanted to do. And Rodgers, when was the last time Rodgers was great?
It's been a while.
4 years, 5 years. And I can tell you, as an older gentleman, I am not getting better with age. A little more handsome, wiser, but it is like he's not going to regain what he was at 36.
Right.
And then plus you look at Jonnu. How many seasons has Jonnu finished? He's going as tight end 11. Tight end 11 or better. Two. He's been around a long time. Right. One was, when was it? In 2020. And then last year in Miami, when they recreated the offense for Tua when he came back from his concussion. So everything was a short throw so he would not get hit, so they could survive the year. So I just don't see that happening. I don't see Jonnu getting the volume. I don't see him getting the yards. And I don't think he's suddenly going to become a different player.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right. I think that's it for this round. Yeah, I was last. Let's go to round 12. All right, Jorge. Who is your smash in this round?
Smash. CJ Stroud. Look, last year, interceptions are what really ate him alive. The 12 interceptions, that'll do it. We got new offensive coordinator, Nick Cali, coming into town, who said, in OTAs and mini camps, we're going to give CJ Stroud more control at the line of scrimmage to call his own shots, call his own plays, make his own audibles, make him less restricted, make him more comfortable. They retooled the wide receiving core. They traded for Christian Kirk. They drafted Jaden Higgins. They drafted Jalen Noel. They still got Nico Collins, for crying out loud. Sometimes players just take a step back. Hey, especially if Nico Collins goes missing for a few weeks and then Tank Dell breaks his leg and goes out for the rest of the season. A lot of things kind of just don't do well when a lot of your key players on offense just aren't available for you to make plays. I don't think this is one where you have to overthink it here, given everybody else that is being presented in the 12th round. I think CJ Stroud is hands down the one you want to get in this round if you're waiting for quarterback.
Do you have any concerns about his offensive line?
And so here's the thing: when they traded Larry Tunsil to the Washington Commanders, at first I thought, "Uh-oh, well, what are they doing?" But from all I've been reading, like they've actually rebuilt that offensive line quite well with a lot of established veterans here, to the point where I don't know if I need to be concerned anymore. And the fact is, they got rid of their old offensive coordinator. They brought in Callie here. And the fact that they're letting CJ Stroud call more plays on his own and having more command of his offense tells me, you know what? I think Stroud won't be pigeonholed into being like, oh, I have to call this really bad play where the offensive line can't protect me. And like, oh, I fall down, I get a sack. I think he's going to be able to check out of some of these bad plays if they do occur. But I don't think that offensive line is actually as bad as people are making it out to be just because, the Laramie Tunsil trade. I think they actually did a really good job bringing in some more beef to protect the guy.
So, shameless plug on the football diehards last night. We had Dan Fornek on, and I took his rankings, Doug's rankings, and I also pulled Sharp Football, PFF, Football Guys, and Fantasy Points. And the overall worst graded offensive line was the Texans, right behind the Bengals. So I understand. Oh, no.
I hope I'm checking Twitter right now to see if this is real.
We might have breaking news.
We got to get these players to behave. Drew Davenport has got enough work on his plate right now. He does not need any more. He
is doing the Lord's work, man. He has a full-time job, and then he spends all day tweeting. Well, so somebody just said in the comments that CeeDee Lamb was arrested on domestic violence charges. However, the guy who said that was Philly Mike, so he might be a little biased. I'm not saying Philly Mike. I'm just saying.
It's not funny.
All right. Sorry for disagreeing about CJ Stroud a little bit.
No. It makes sense. There's a lot of patchwork. That is true. But I don't think they're any worse than they were last year. And I think the Laramie Tunsil subtraction is not as drastic as people may be making it out to be.
Jama, who are you smashing in this round?
We got a lot of these elite handcuffs in this round. I'm going to smash Ray Davis here. So James
nice.
And Buffalo's in a contract dispute. These guys coming off 18 touchdowns last year. The 2 years previous, he had 3 touchdowns and 6. So I know last week we had Jody Smith on. He talked about the touchdown regression that's coming for James Cook. I think that Ray Davis, honestly, I think there's a chance he could be the better pure rusher. I know that James Cook does a lot of the receiving role, but just as far as, they get the goal line, then give it to Ray Davis if they're not using Josh Allen over the pylon. And I know this is a Jets podcast, so I do have to bring it up. The game that James Cook missed and Ray Davis came in for was against the Jets, and he just ran all over him. 97 yards on the ground, 55 through the air. So we have Isaac Guerrero, we have Rashad White, we have Trey Benson. I mean, Ray Davis, the handcuffs are right here, and I think he's probably the best. Him or Guerrero are probably the best running back handcuffs in this 12th round here. So I really like Ray Davis. Joe Brady wants to run the ball. We talked earlier about all the wide receivers that the Bills don't have, just names on the back of a jersey. So I think Ray Davis can get some work here in year 2. And if James Cook doesn't want to show up to work or if he gets hurt, I think it kind of sets him up really nicely here.
My love for Ray Davis. So I'm excited to see you pick them. Now, Brandon Hallam, can you put that up on the screen? He made a comment about last year, going back to CJ Stroud, talking about Bobby Slowick in the offense. There was a major shift last year in offensive personnel, and the GM and Slowick were not on the same page. So Slowick came from the Kyle Shanahan tree, where he relies on a lot. He uses the fullback, right? Think about what San Francisco does all the time. They use a fullback. So his entire offense was based on the Shanahan scheme. And what did they do before last season? They got rid of every fullback. So I think they took away everything Slowick knew how to do and do well. And so all of a sudden you had somebody who's calling plays with offensive players that didn't match what his scheme was. So I think you're absolutely right. His playbook wasn't great last year, and we saw that with him getting fired. Now, my player who I am smashing this round, who Sean in the comments already mentioned, is Jake Ferguson. I love Jake Ferguson. I don't know why everybody is kind of out on him, or looking at ADP is out on him. He's the third weapon in this backfield, in this receiving room, behind CD, possibly, George Pickens, who JMO loves, and then Jake Ferguson. Now, being a third option isn't always great, but in a high-powered offense where Javonte Williams is your best running back, I'm going to think he's going to see upwards of 100 targets this year. And it wasn't that long ago where Jake Ferguson was a top 8 tight end. So I love Jake Ferguson in the 12th round. If you wait on tight end, smash him here, because I think he's definitely going to be a top 7 tight end this year. Yes, and Dak loves to target his tight ends. You're absolutely right. And they already have a connection. It's not like they're new to each other. So that's who I'm going with as my smash. Now, who is Jorge? Who are you passing on in this round?
Sorry, 1 second. So
it's okay.
For me, it's Marquise Brown. I may have alluded to the corpse of Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, earlier when we were talking about Travis Kelce and the receiving options for the Kansas City Chiefs. I just don't see it. I don't see it. He's never been somebody consistent week to week that I could plug into my lineup, and I'm like, I feel good. I feel good about this. This is fine, except there's like flames all around me, like the meme where the guy's sitting there drinking a cup of coffee. This is fine. Marquise Brown is my flex option. This is great. This is not great. This is very, very not great. I'm again, the consistency is the issue here. So shout out Bob Lung, who's all about consistency, and you can get the consistency guide that he puts out every year, which is a phenomenal piece of literature there. So thank you, Bob Lung, for that. Shout out to you. Marquise Brown is not it in the 12th round. To Jameson's point, Ray Davis is somebody I'm a huge fan of. Ferguson, like you were talking about. Even somebody, like Dalton Kincaid, who may have a bounce back year this year. Everybody was expecting him to go to the moon, as the kids say last year. God, I always kick myself when I try to use young colloquialisms, and it always backfires in my face. So I apologize for saying to the moon.
He's going to eat.
He's going to eat. Is that okay?
No crumbs?
Wow. Okay, I got to throw that into my rotation now. Thank you very much, JJ.
You're welcome.
So yeah, the lack of consistency from Hollywood Brown, and the fact that we know who the true receiving option is for Kansas City, and that's Travis Kelce.
All right, Vince jumped into the chat. Always good to see you, my friend from down under.
Good day, mate.
Who is Jama? Who are you passing on in this round?
For me, it's Dalton Kincaid, the former first rounder who I feel like we've been dumping on the Bills wide receiving options. He just a guy.
So Jorge, what you would say in this case is Kincaid thinks he ate, but he left the whole plate.
Very good. Bravo.
Thank you. Go. Sorry. Go ahead, JMO.
I love it.
But Dalton Kincaid coming off knee and shoulder problems last year. He plays with Dawson Knox. This is a former first rounder who still does not play full time for what seems like a Bills offense that could use a weapon outside of Khalil Shakir. So I just don't know. It's just a guy who's played a couple years. If he hasn't taken the leap by now, I just don't see it happening. So I just I don't have time for Dalton Kincaid. I'll leave it at that. I'd rather have Jake Ferguson, a couple round, Dallas Goedert, a couple spots after this. I'd rather have those guys than Dalton Kincaid. He also had the bad drop in the playoffs. That's fresh in my mind. So I also got burned by him. It's maybe a little bit of personal bias. I was one of those guys that took him very early. I thought I was the smartest guy in the room. Turns out I'm a moron and dumbass, but that's, for another time. So I'm not doing Dalton Kincaid.
All right. Now, I'm not saying Colston Loveland is my op. That's another one for you guys.
Oh, wow.
But I am not drafting him as tight end 13. What the hell are we doing here, folks? That is crazy. crazy for me. So, first of all, he's a rookie tight end, and I know they have broken the streak. I know that. But we've had some really good tight ends break the streak, right? Colston Loveland is not Brock Bowers. He's not. I know he was the first tight end taken. I know he went in the first round. But that does not mean he is who you want him to be. So, unfortunately, when I look at him, I see a crowded, right? I was talking before about Caleb Williams. How many weapons do they have? DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, DeAndre Swift. Like, do we think he's going to pass 700 times?
Right.
Colston Loveland is not going to get the volume you need. If you're drafting a tight end, you need him to be a top 3 target. If he's not a top 3 target, and rightly, if you're taking him early, he has to be a top 2, then don't draft them. Don't draft them. Move on. And if you told me like I could have Jake Ferguson and Dallas Goedert in this same round after Colston Loveland, I would do that every day. I would take Kincaid over Loveland. And I don't like Kincaid.
That's a bit rich for me. So
you wouldn't take Kincaid over Loveland?
No, I like Loveland. I also like Tyler Warren. I'm willing to, I think Colston Loveland could be a spike week guy at tight end. And I think Tyler Warren honestly can have a really good year as like a high floor player. But I just Dalton Kincaid can go in the dumpster. I just don't think there's a ranking high enough that I can put him at. So I'll take a chance on Loveland over Kincaid, and then the other guys, just kind of iffy on.
What is it with Sean always bringing up put him through a table, JJ? Is this like, is there a real concern here we should be knowing about here at Fantasy?
Well, before he wanted me to be through a table. Now, just to be fair, I weigh a lot. I think I'm more likely to put JMO through a table than like JMO's going to pull something trying to put me through a table.
Well, Sean, as somebody who had surgery a couple months ago, even though I'm fine, medical insurance in this day and age is expensive. Getting surgery is expensive. I do not know if I can do multiple table stints. I could do one. I got to stretch beforehand, but as far as just slamming everybody through a table, I need to get on the juice first off. But other than that, I don't know. We need to behave a little bit. And tables are expensive too. Have you not seen inflation right now, John? My God!
In this economy,
yeah, we're gonna have to use doors. They're a little cheaper than tables.
Whoa, wait a second. Like an interior door, like hollow core.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, before we go to round 13, make sure you download and subscribe to the Fast Draft app today using the promo code FRAMES, which will earn you a first-time deposit match of up to $50 in credits. From their Origins game, where you draft only rookies, their Flex 4 game, where you pick your favorite players for the upcoming season, and their D-Up game, which is just like Flex 4, but with IDP Fantasy Football players only, not for JMO. This 20-second timer, PPR formatted 6-round best ball draft game is perfect for those on the go, but itching to get their fantasy football draft fix satisfied. Again, that's promo code FRAMES, which will earn you a first-time deposit match of up to $50 in credits. The Fast Draft app. Start drafting faster.
Very clean once again.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Very like a pro.
Oh, stop. A little more. No, I'm just kidding. All right, we're in round 13. Jorge, do you have a hard out? Do you have to?
No, we're good. We are good. I have to be out by 9:50, so as long as we're good by then, we're good to go.
All right, let's keep going. Then, Jorge, who do you have as your smash player in the 13th round?
So this is going to be kind of spicy, but I am buying and drinking the Kool-Aid on Bryce Young. I think I want to snatch him up before somebody gets him in the later rounds and is like, "Ooh, I got a value at Bryce Young." I'm like, "No, you didn't. I grabbed the value before you had a chance because I believe in the upside. I'm willing to take that." We saw him towards the end of last year once he started once he regained the starting job there in Carolina. Things started to click. It all started in that Kansas City game where he had 35 passing attempts. Then we saw the 46 passing attempts, 34, 28, 26, 28, 34. And that's with Chuba Hubbard also being featured in this running game. So the passing volume was there, even though there was an efficient running game situation going on there. You look at what they did last year in the draft. They got Xavier Legette in the first round. Then they got Ted McMillan this year. Jalen Coker is somebody who I'm very high on. That is a very deep sleeper here for fantasy managers. So there's a lot of passing offense here. And then the running game is going to keep things balanced, keep defenses honest. And I think that's going to work wonders for Bryce Young. So I'm not going to wait. I'm pulling the trigger here. And in the 13th round, I'm going to chase that upside because I believe that he is going to be at least in the top 13 with the potential for being inside the top 12 in fantasy points this year.
Pull that trigger. Pew, pew, pew. J-Mo.
Round 13 here, I'm going to take a shot on some upside and one of these ambiguous backfields with Jaden Blue. I dumped on Javonte Williams earlier. I think it might take a little bit. We talk about Miles Sanders. I don't know if anybody has watched Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams play professional football the last couple of years. It's not been an enjoyable watch. It's not been any good. I cannot believe people are buying into this thing. Jaden Blue, he's not a workhorse back. He's a guy who came out of Texas. He had 730 yards on the ground with 8 touchdowns, but he also got it done with 6 touchdowns and 368 yards through the air. So he's kind of like a scat back who, you talk about Dak Prescott kind of chucking it on third down. I can see Jaden Blue, pretty decent pass protector as well. I know the other guys do that too, but I think Jaden Blue has the opportunity to kind of what Rico Dowdle did last year. We took a little bit, but he started to get going. Now, of course, he's in Carolina, but I think Jaden Blue, just one of these upside running back plays here in the later rounds. We talked about Caleb Williams and the Pittsburgh running back, Caleb Johnson, excuse me. Blank there for a second. He's like in round 7, and we're getting Jaden Blue here in the round 13. These are the types of swings that I want to take this late. So there's some other guys we talked about, Big XL, Xavier Legette, one of my favorites here on the pod. Tyler Algier, the handcuff running back that goes behind Bijan, who a lot of people are ranking the top, guy this year. But I'm just going to take a swing here on Jaden Blue. I think he's got some upside in a receiving role, and then I think he can carve his way into a running back role year 2 in Dallas.
Go ahead.
Sorry. There's a lot of pushback in the chat on Jaden Blue. Let's not forget, he doesn't have to be world blowing. He just needs to beat out Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, and he's going to be that feature back. So, I get it. It's kind of like the Melvin Gordon effect back in the late the teens here in the 2000s. Not really efficient, not really great as a real running back. You know what he got? He got volume, and there's definitely a pathway to volume here for Jaden Blue, I think, towards the middle and late end of the season.
If you guys would tell me you'd rather have Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams instead of just taking a swing on a rookie, I mean, you can give me a call.
I think they're saying they just wouldn't draft a running back in Dallas.
Well, I get that, but I've seen some stuff. People are trying to justify Miles Sanders. Whatever drug.
Use a name. Don't say people. Come on, Trump. Give me a name.
No, Jacob Sanderson for a little bit over on. So he was doing that for a little bit.
I didn't think you would. Good for you.
No, I'm not trying to dump on it. I've heard it, and I think he's laid off a little bit, but Miles Sanders was 4 years ago. I mean, I think I was kidless when he was fantasy relevant, and I've got a 7-year-old right now, so I just can't do it. I can't do it. I'd just rather take the swing. I think Cowboys offense is going to be awesome. I think they're going to kick ass. We've talked about it here. I love George Pickens. I love Dak this year. I'd just rather take a running back Blue. If I'm going to take a swing at one of these three, it'd be him.
Well, for me, I have a little bit of Penix envy. I'm going with Michael Penix in this round. Quarterback 21. I think that's probably his floor. He's an all upside pick. If you look at his weapons, he has top weapons. From Bijan, who everybody talks about, this is his year, to Drake London. And then, people are high on Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts. Ray McLeod is there. Ray's not a world beater, but he gets open in the slot. I think Penix is just going to be, he has a smorgasbord of weapons ahead of him. All he has to do is get the ball to the guy who's open, and he's going to have time because Atlanta had the consensus 4th best offensive line last night. So that's who I'm going with. I like Michael Penix, especially if I can get him in the 13th round.
I mean, he has all the weapons around him, right? It's not like he's a rookie. He's a second-year quarterback being thrown out there with nothing around him. I think Drake London in the 3 games played was his number 1 target, and I think he led all wide receivers in target percentage with those two together. And even against my Washington Commanders, Kyle Pitts found some love in the end zone. And I know this is not me being a Kyle Pitts truther. I am not a Kyle Pitts truther.
You heard it here first.
Jorge is a Kyle Pitts truther. Exactly. I will say what we've seen from Kyle Pitts. I think there is only room for upside here with Michael Penix. I don't know where that upside will take us, but there's definitely room for upside there.
All right. Well, let's get to the guys we are avoiding this round. Now, you're going to upset somebody in the chat, but who are you avoiding, Jorge?
So I hate. Let me guess. Is it Sean? Is it Sean that I'm going to be annoying here?
No, I think it was. Yep, Vince.
Yeah. So Jack Besh, wide receiver, Las Vegas Raider. How potent do you think this Raiders offense is going to be passing the ball? I mean, you just invested a top 10 draft pick in Ashton Jeanty. You bring in Pete Carroll. You bring in Chip Kelly. This is primarily going to be, I believe, a run-heavy offense here. You have Brock Bowers, the coming of Jesus in the tight end position. You have Jacoby Myers. And then, like, how much more down the pecking order are we going to get for there to be fantasy relevance for Jack Besh here? I understand he doesn't have to beat out, somebody. He has to beat out Trey Tucker, who's currently slotted in ahead of him per ourlads.com. So I get it. I get we want to chase the upside here for players. And again, for a dynasty perspective, yes. Would I take a late round flyer on him? Sure. For redraft, no. I think you have in Oakland, or excuse me, wow. In Vegas, still calling it Oakland. That's crazy. In Vegas, you have Jeanty, you have Bowers, you have Jacoby Myers. And I think that's where on offense, you kind of, that's where you're at.
Who are you avoiding, JMO?
For me in this round, just Josh Palmer. It's just another I feel like I've talked about 400 times. He's going to be the deep ball threat this year for Josh Allen, and it's just going to be spike weeks that aren't going to be consistent, and you're never going to know when to play him. So if it's not Khalil Shakir, I'm just not clicking on it. So I also bring in Elijah Moore, who that was my dog for a long time, and I just couldn't justify doing it, even though it's a new team, best quarterbacks ever played with. I just he had like the couple 2 or 3 weeks with Joe Flacco where I thought, he might have turned a corner, and then they separated, and I'm just not going to do it. So Josh Palmer for me, I just going to leave it at that.
All right. For me, sometimes it's hard to start and do a timestamp at the same time. For me, I'm not touching Tua Tagovailoa with a 12-foot pole. I'm staying away from him. You talk about his weapons. Are they all worse? I mean, what happened to Hill last year? Is he suddenly coming back? How about no, Scott? What about Waddle? What happened to Waddle? And I know that's our boy Joe Harlow's guy, but he went away. Jonnu's traded. That offensive line is bottom 5 in the league. I think Mike McDaniel is going to be fired at some point this season. I just don't see Miami doing much of anything. And behind that offensive line, they're going to be doing so many short passes, or Tua is going to be out.
Right.
Yes,
Wow.
You can have that poll back, buddy. All right. Let's do the 14th.
Wow.
Let's
Jamie.
keep going here. Let's go a little crazy. Hey, Sean, we're going very deep today.
Yeah. Sean will like that.
He will like that. Yeah, he does. Jorge, who is your smash player in this round?
I am so excited for what Matthew Stafford is going to do this year. He's going to have Puka Nacua. He's going to have Devontae Adams. You know, as much as we like to talk about the inefficiency at the running back with Kyron Williams, dude gets volume. So inherently, he's going to get balance. You know, the real issue here is at the tight end position. You know, Tyler Higbee, not somebody that we're, you know, super high on. He has been declining very drastically, but they drafted Terrence Ferguson, who I think is going to skip over here. Colby Parkinson. I think Terrence Ferguson has the athletic background that you saw in college, that he's going to kind of towards this season, even, I think he's going to assert himself. This is going to be a very pass heavy offense here. Again, I cannot stress how much Devontae Adams opens up everybody else on the field. Hell, Tutu Atwell may become a thing this year that maybe people aren't predicting. That's how good Devontae Adams is at helping to make other people around him better.
I also chose Matt Stafford. Yeah, for me, this sort of feels, Jorge, like that scene in Tombstone, right before the big showdown, when they all are geared up and they're just walking down the street. That's like Stafford, Devontae Adams, and Puka. Like one last ride. Yeah. Let's do this. I don't know how much longer Stafford has. I don't know how much longer Devontae Adams have. But with Devontae and Puka, man, he's going to be passing the ball a ton. I trust Sean McVay. I trust that offense. Like, it's the most consistent offense. The offensive line is always good. So, yeah, as QB 24, hell yes. Hell yes, I'm drafting Matt Stafford here.
Absolutely.
J-Mo, who are you taking?
I feel like I'm swinging pretty big here in round 14, but honestly, I'm going to take Cam Ward. I feel like that's a little bit of a hot take maybe. But drafting the number 1 overall pick at quarterback 26 seems a little goofy. Everything coming out of camp, it seems very good for Cam Ward. This is a 0-star recruit, so for him to go from there all the way to the number 1 pick, I think says a lot about his work ethic. Kind of like a Jalen Hurts, you know, a guy who just seemed to grind, get better each year. That's kind of how Cam Ward went about it as well. Offensive line, they've got some new stars on there. I think it's going to be a lot better than what it was last year. Can't be any worse with Mayo Boy, who was an abomination. But he's got 2 really good running backs with Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver 1. I think he is going to smash this year. I know Tyler Lockett's old, but it's a veteran wide receiver 2. In this situation, I don't want to compare the quarterbacks, but Jaden Daniels last year seemed like he was kind of in a similar situation. It was just Terry McLaurin, just like the one guy, and then kind of the rest of the guys. End up Zach Ertz kind of popped off a little bit, but offensive line was okay. It wasn't the best on God's green earth, and Jaden Daniels kind of went off. Cam Ward does not have the rushing ability, so I'm not saying that they are going to be the same player. But, I mean, this is the number 1 overall pick, and nobody's talked about him. 57 college starts, so, I mean, he's got loads of experience. He leads college football with touchdown passes in 158. That kind of goes not talked about at all. So just seems like this is the guy that's really forgotten about. And at this range, he's quarterback 26. He's a great QB2, and I would not be surprised if he ends up, you know, borderline quarterback 1. So I just, this late, if I'm kind of taking some swings at quarterback, I think Cam Ward's a great swing here.
All right. Jorge, who are you avoiding in this round?
You know, and I'm avoiding Jalen Wright, and I really wish I wasn't, because I was a big fan of him coming out of Tennessee last year. A lot of good player comps you like to see, a lot of good performance, a lot of elusiveness you want, and somebody who was drafted, I'm like, man, this is great. If Achane wasn't there, right? But he is there. And then you see what they've done in the off season here, meaning the Miami Dolphins. If they were so sold on Jalen Wright, would they brought in Alexander Madison? Okay, you can make the argument with me. Oh, well, he's just a depth rotation piece. It's surely Jalen Wright's the RB2 here. Would you have drafted Ollie Gordon, who's a completely different style running back than Wright, then Achane, has a little bit more beef, can take it up the middle, get those hard yards, maybe be somebody who they use in goal line situations to start the year? that's the addition there that got me really thinking. And I get it. He's a 6th round pick, but you know what? I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to stay there. If anything, I see Madison being the guy out here for the Miami Dolphins. So a lot of question marks behind Achane, which the fact that there are so many question marks in this running back room just makes me have to pass on Jalen Wright.
All right. You're up, JMO. Who are you avoiding?
For me, it's Jalen McMillan. Just they went out of their way to get Emeka Ibuka, very first round. Chris Godwin is coming back. You get Mike Evans. I like Baker Mayfield. I do think he's got a little bit of regression coming. Tristan Wirfs being out beginning part of the year, I think is pretty worrisome. And then, new offensive coordinator and Josh Grizzard. We'll see. Seems like they're going to keep a lot of the same stuff in place, but just a wide receiver 4 here. I'd just rather take some of these backup running backs. Like I said, Cam Ward, take a shot there. But I just don't see McMillan last year finished really strong. And I mean, but as far as just the wide receiver 4, I'm just not going to take here. I'd rather have Adam Thielen 2 spots later, take a shot on him. So for those reasons, I'm out on Jalen McMillan.
All right. Well, I'm going to upset a couple people because I am passing on Roschon Johnson. I do not get it. He is not going to beat out Swift. He's probably going to lose his role to Kyle Monangai. Last year, he had 0.0 explosive runs. None. He was 66th. It's hard to say. 66th in missed tackles forced per attempt. And he was 66th in yards after contact per attempt. So, what is he? Oh, somebody's getting the table. Oh, no. I just, listen, I'm not drafting him. You can't. He's a late bloomer. I'm sure he is. No, I'm done. You can't convince me otherwise. We're going to round 14. 14 is going to be our last round, gentlemen. I mean, I know we prepped up to 18. Oh, I mean, 15.
We'll just have to have another episode next week then, if that's the case. We just got to keep the love going.
Keep going deeper. All right, 15 will be the last one.
15.
All right, here we go. Everybody stretch out a little bit. Should we play a song, like do the 7th inning stretch, the 15th round stretch?
I'd say saving this the best for last, but I mean, I don't know. Getting pretty deep here. Sean, if you can tell me how deep in the comments, just let us know. But getting pretty deep here.
And can we go deeper next week? Is the question.
Oh, it depends who you ask.
Oh my
no,
God.
Sean.
Sean.
No.
We were keeping it clean. Come on, man.
Family show.
Jeez.
What is wrong with you?
Unreal. Come on.
Oh my Lord.
You should have said football. See that? Yes, you should have said football, Steve. That would have been somewhat better. But
right.
That was just a mistype on Sean. Yeah. Maybe Sean goes to the table now.
Yeah. Sean is calling for Sean. Yep. All right. Stop it. Focus, gentlemen. Jorge.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who are you smashing in this round?
So this is like, we're going from balls deep talk to me talking about somebody that I am just all about, big fan of in Wan'Dale Robinson. We look at last year with Malik Neighbors, had 140 targets compared to Neighbors' 170. He is what you want in a full PPR league guy. He is not somebody you want in a half or a non-PPR. The receptions, even though he got only 66.4% of them, and he only got you 93 out of 140, I don't care. I want the chance for target volume here. And I think whoever is the quarterback, whether it's Russell Wilson for the rest of the year, whether they put, I guess my only concern here would be if Jameis Winston is the quarterback at some point this year, that's a concern from Wan'Dale, just because the YOLO balls are going to go Malik Neighbors' way. And God forbid to Darius Slayton. But that, or Jalen Hyatt, to whoever else besides Malik Neighbors. But if it's Russell Wilson, we saw Russell Wilson's low ADOT last year in Pittsburgh, funneling a lot to Pat Freiermuth. I think it's going to be a similar situation with a low ADOT here for the New York Giants and going to Wan'Dale Robinson a lot.
All right. I think probably the reason he's going as wide receiver 71 is because he had 90 catches for 86 yards last year. Not a big A dot. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Right.
JMO, who is your smash?
If I'm streaming tight ends, I want to take a shot at Mike Gesicki. He's kind of similar to Dallas Goedert. When, say, Jamar Chase or T. Higgins gets hurt, I mean, he ends up just being a kind of a fantasy monster at tight end. So I don't think that Jermaine Burton or Andre Yoshivas is going to be like a prominent role in this offense. So I think Gesicki will be basically the number 3 behind those guys. And then, of course, you got Chase Brown. But he saw a lot of targets down the stretch, even though if the fantasy points didn't come with it. He only had, I believe, 2 touchdowns last year. So even if that swings a little bit and you're a guy who is streaming for touchdowns, I mean, Joe Burrow and the Bengals are going to pass more than probably anybody in the league, maybe outside of Kansas City. So Mike Gesicki kind of sets up nicely here. 15th round, just taking a flyer here, just taking a chance on Mike Gesicki. If you're streaming tight ends, if you're somebody who is into that, but that's a tough road for me these days. But I know some people are sick in the head enough to do it still.
All right, good call. Now, my smash pick for this round. And by the way, just to go back, I think I didn't mean to slander Wandale. I actually traded for him today. I was telling the gentleman before somebody, Jake Trowbridge, I'll name drop, offered me a trade of Trey Harris for Wandale, a 26 and a 26 second and a 26 fourth, and I took it. Granted, it was before I knew that Mike Williams retired, but in Jake's defense, he did offer to reverse the trade, but I kept it anyway. My smash in this round is Pop Douglas. I love Pop Douglas. He's a slot receiver. Josh McDaniels is back, and he loves the slot, right? And Drake May is a great quarterback. I don't think you have to go as far down. I think DeMario Douglas is going to have more of a role than Kyle Williams. And I'm excited to see what Pop Douglas can do. And if you're drafting him in the 15th round as wide receiver 72 and he doesn't show up, then you just cut him and you move on with your life. But I really like Douglas. Once May started last year, he had 8 top 20 finishes. Not great, but top 20 is better than wide receiver 72. Yes, Vince. Yes, Vince, he is. He is. All right. Who are we avoiding, Jorge?
We talked about, the drafting of Emeka Egbuka. We have Chris Godwin going back. We got Mike Evans. I'm out on Kate Otten. Like, I'm sorry. We got too many receiving options. Like, I understand Baker could probably find a way to feed everybody in some capacity, but we have to rein that in just a little bit here, especially with Tristan Wirfs being out for a good chunk of the season. Like, that's potentially half of the season without their best offensive lineman, and Bayfield's going to have to kind of like narrow down his focus as far as who's going to be getting the ball out to, especially with their 7-game stretch to start the season. It's not looking too bueno. So I'm going to be fading or passing rather on Kate On.
Yeah, can't argue with that. One thing that is always a good exercise is to do your own projections. Because sometimes it takes doing your projections for every team in the NFL and like really work through it. I did it in the olden days where there's a lot of spreadsheets, but you start recognizing that there's only so many targets to go around. And once you get down to like the 5th option, it's usually not a fantasy starter at that point. Jayma, who are you avoiding?
I'm avoiding Pat Freiermuth. Arthur Smith brings in God's gift to the tight end position in Jonnu Smith. Arthur Smith's also a guy, if he had prime Megatron and Randy Moss on the team, he'd scheme up stuff for Jonnu Smith. That's the love affair between those two. So nice. He finished tight end 11 last year, but I mean, he caught a career high 65 catches and had 7 touchdowns. I expect that to regress, and it's paired with Aaron Rodgers, who's a criminal who I want no part of. So I'm just going to pass on Pat Freiermuth here and just go elsewhere.
He is an absolute criminal. He deserves to be thrown in prison. Wait, where you say it? You always say it better. What should happen to him?
Needs to be thrown in prison.
Go to Guantanamo.
Yeah, go Guantanamo Bay. Have a happy life down there. Number one in my book. This is a PG show, but if anybody knows what I'm doing under the table right now, and not the perverted stuff like Sean would think, but just giving the middle finger. So,
Yikes. That's crazy. All right. So our last player we're going to talk about tonight is my pass, and I am passing on Braylon Allen. Oh, I know. I'm a Jets fan. I should love him. He started off great last year, and Aaron Glenn said they're going to have a three-headed rushing attack. Okay, that might happen. But Braylon Allen is being faded out. He's not better than Isaiah Davis at all. He had 1.1% of his runs were explosive. That is terrible. He had 0.12 missed tackles forced per attempt. I thought this guy is like supposedly fast and big and like nobody can touch him. And he was, I don't even know what that stat read. So, but who even cares? Braylon Allen should not be drafted. Stop it. Please don't draft Braylon Allen. Draft Isaiah Davis much later, and you'll be much happier. You watch your mouth. They should trade for Roschon Johnson just to make me mad.
He said Isaiah Spiller. For some reason, I had flashbacks of CJ Spiller.
Oh, CJ. He was so good.
Going to Buffalo there for out of Clemson. I want to say that was Clemson. Yeah.
CJ. Oh, those were the days. All right, gentlemen. Jorge, thank you for taking the time to jump on our show. We appreciate you more than you know for giving us a home here at Fantasy and Frames. So it's time for tags. If you want to let people know where they can find you and anything that you are working on, JMO, you can take down the draft board.
Yes, sir.
There
we go. Look at everybody.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on Rider Dynasty. This has been fantastic. The second we all talked I want to say there is no such thing as an off season, but like back before the draft, about joining forces here, I was immediately like, yes, let's get everybody going. Let's do this thing. And you all have been a great addition to the Fantasy and Frames family. So we're very fortunate and thankful for you to be joining us here. As far as where you can find me at Jorge B. Edwards over here, over on Blue Sky, over on TikTok. Yes, I'm actually starting to get a little bit more into the TikTok world. But you know what? Much rather follow Fantasy and Frames wherever whichever social media platform you are on the most. We like to put out a lot of content, whether it's posting article content or podcast content or video content. However you want to digest fantasy football content, we will provide that for you, as well as head over to fantasyandframes.com. Check out our weekly rankings, our dynasty rankings, dynasty, redraft, IDP, you name it, rookie rankings. We have it all there. We have our articles coming out. We are going to be starting the first week in August, or should I say the last week in July, dropping daily our divisional previews in the morning for offense and the evening for IDP. And we're going to be carrying all that through to the Fantasy Football Expo. Large contingent of fantasy and framers will be there at the Expo in Canton this year. So looking forward to getting together and looking forward to helping everybody have fun playing fantasy football this year. And so that's what I got going on.
What about you, JMO?
Over on the Twitter machine, as always, at Jameson Rules. Also over in Fantasy and Frames Discord a little bit. So talking football, talking a little wrestling. I don't know, it's becoming that time of the year where it's starting to pick up a little bit. Things are getting a little busier. Drafts are starting to pop off a little bit. So other than that, here every Thursday evening, giving you all the great information that we do. So that's all I got for this week. A point. See, I can't ever get it right. I just need to retire from trying.
It's the opposite.
See, now I'm not even on the screen. Just forget it.
Yeah,
I tried.
I'd kick you off, but I don't have that power. Thank you to Joe, as always, even though he's not here. Thank you to Jameson. Thank you to Jorge, the entire crew at Fantasy and Frames. Thank you to everybody who tuned in the chat. It makes it a lot more exciting show when we have a good conversation going with knuckleheads, even if one of them is Sean. We're going to be back next week Thursday, 8 p.m. as always. But until then, love yourself. Know your worth. You are enough. Boat drinks, my friends.